Immigration. It's one of America's biggest political debates spanning decades, with public opinion on policy.
Mass migration has to be met with these mass deportations.
We don't need ICE in the community right now.
Falling along political lines. But the issue isn't isolated to border towns or so-called sanctuary cities.
I was a little scared, I'm not going to lie.
We're not going to violate anybody's Fourth Amendment.
I think the best word would be chaotic.
Stories of immigration, from arrests to detentions, court proceedings to legal paths, are unfolding in Kansas City. I'm KCTV5's Lauren Magarino. 1 year after federal actions on immigration, we uncover how they are changing lives here, as we take this issue beyond the border. When we think of immigration enforcement in America, we tend to picture scenes at the border or Los Angeles and Chicago. But earlier this year, just 400 miles north of Kansas City, something happened that changed the way people here are talking about the issue. In Minneapolis, ICE raids and the shooting of former Kansas City resident Renee Good shocked a community and reignited a nationwide conversation about what immigration enforcement really looks like in 2026. For many Americans, the enforcement is necessary. They voted for it. For others, it represents a crisis, a moral failing. This country is split deeply on what immigration means, who should be here, and how we should enforce it. Meanwhile, here in Kansas City, in fact, right where I'm standing, we are witnessing our own turning point as federal officials are considering bringing a massive ICE detention facility to our city. Throughout 6 months of reporting, we made multiple requests to ICE for a sit-down interview and ride-along. They were unable to accommodate our requests. Over the next 30 minutes, we are taking you beyond the national headlines and into the lives of a dozen local people navigating a system changing faster than anyone anticipated.
My husband, he's from Mexico.
From Lenexa, Kansas to Liberty, Missouri and downtown Kansas City, immigration enforcement is underway in our communities.
Birthright. That's a big one.
Following President Donald Trump's executive orders on immigration and a national arrest quota.
3,000 arrests for ICE every day.
ICE arrests exploded by 76% in Missouri and nearly tripled in Kansas from January to October 15th in 2025 compared to a year prior. Roughly 1 in 3 arrests were in the Kansas City metro, like the arrest of Eduardo Núñez Troncoso, who came from Peru seeking asylum in 2023. His room stands frozen from when he left for an immigration court hearing December 18th.
Some of my family actually advised my uncle not to go, but he was trying to be lawful and stay on the books, even though...
There were concerns.
Yeah, there were concerns, but we said, take somebody with you, so that's how my cousin ended up going with him to be with him the day of.
Richard Ortiz's cousin left immigration court alone. He told the family ICE arrested Troncoso after the hearing, despite holding paperwork with his next scheduled court date.
All these people were thinking they were coming back to their next hearing, having followed the legal process, and were being detained.
Troncoso has no criminal history. The government authorized his work permit. Government knew he was here and he was legally able to work.
Right, he was not hiding anywhere, he didn't cross the border illegally.
The family does not know why ICE arrested him. ICE says it arrested 4 people at court that day for felony immigration violations, but has not confirmed whether Troncoso was among them. After 3 weeks behind bars, he agreed to voluntarily depart, creating an opportunity for him to potentially return. Troncoso's arrest is part of a broader shift in how ICE operates in Kansas City. Historically, most ICE arrests happened inside jails, a method ICE Director Todd Lyons says he still prefers.
I'd much rather focus all of our limited resources on that, take them into custody.
KCTV5 analysis of ICE records found arrests of those already incarcerated made up about 69% of ICE arrests within the Kansas City metro.
But we do have to go out into the community and make those arrests.
And they are. Community arrests in Kansas City increased from about 12% to about 20%. Julio Rojas shared his arrest story from El Salvador after his deportation. Rojas came to the U.S. at 16 seeking asylum. He settled in Olathe and became a father. A judge eventually ordered his removal. One Sunday morning in August, he left an auto parts store. As he drove away, he says 4 unmarked vehicles followed him. Scared, he did not stop at first, but eventually parked and ran. He alleges an ICE agent hit him with their car, throwing him to the ground. Another drew a gun, saying, Rojas claims agents photographed his injuries and later laughed, saying, Otra rata más a la cuenta, another rat to the count. We asked ICE for comment on Rojas's allegations. We did not receive a response. Another change? More people are getting swept up in ICE operations, even when they are not the target. Arrests at Liberty's El Potro restaurant in February are a prime example. According to court documents, ICE targeted the restaurant to arrest 1 person with a felony narcotics conviction. Agents ended up arresting 12 people, determining they lacked legal status.
So that matches a pattern that often worries the people about ICE arrest where, a collateral raid, right?
A federal judge ruled 11 of those arrests unlawful. Trinidad Raj Molina is the accompaniment organizer for Advocates for Immigrant Rights and Reconciliation, or AIR. If there are reports of ICE in the metro, he likely hears about it. Now, collateral arrests were not a surprise to Molina. What was?
The biggest surprise of this year is that I feel like we've seen HSI be used at arrest more often than ICE, that's a curveball for everybody.
ICE is made up of several branches. ERO agents focus on arrests, detentions, and removals. HSI agents, who normally investigate crimes like drug smuggling and human trafficking, are now making more immigration arrests. They led the El Potro operation with arrests later deemed unlawful.
So we see HSI just messing up a lot.
Molina says HSI agents sometimes lack understanding of constitutional protections. ICE did not respond to his characterization.
It's closed because we had a criminal search warrant here today.
HSI also led arrests at El Toro Locos Lenexa and Legends locations in July. DHS says agents were rescuing victims of human trafficking. As KCTV5 reported in 2023, the Department of Labor sued El Toro Loco for allegedly denying wages to employees. The restaurant settled. 2 years later, HSI walked several employees out in chains and cuffs.
Not only are we focused on those individuals that are, working here illegally.
Director Lyons says the agency is also targeting American companies, exploiting workers through forced labor. But Molina says HSI sightings have not been limited to work sites. He says reports of HSI in Kansas City neighborhoods ticked up in the summer of 2025.
Maybe HSI somewhere between 5 to 8 in the morning and just looking at people's license plates, seeing if there's something they can find in someone.
A sign the agency may be leaning more on HSI agents to help meet the administration's quota. The Trump administration is also getting more help from local law enforcement. The 287G program allows ICE to train local officers on how to enforce certain parts of immigration law. We visited Anderson County Sheriff's Office, which partnered with ICE under a warrant service model.
Arrest somebody on criminal charges, find out that they have an illegal immigrant status, and then contact ICE, and ICE puts their detainer on that individual.
It's one of just over 50 law enforcement agencies across Kansas and Missouri that joined the 287G program mostly in 2025, including the Kansas Bureau of Investigation and Missouri State Highway Patrol. Sheriff Wesley McLean says ICE arrests in his rural community are low and says his office won't violate anyone's rights.
We're not going to violate anybody's Fourth Amendment, whether they're here on a legal status or they're a citizen, but we'll make sure that there's due process.
But Molina worries about what happens when agents are under pressure.
You see them push boundaries more, sometimes in questionable ways where obviously are violating people's civil rights. Not in every case, but you tend to see that happen more often.
Activity will likely intensify. A senior DHS official told KCTV5 congressional funds will help hire more ICE officers and agents. ICE has since doubled its workforce from 10 to 22,000. For immigration authorities, that means more reinforcement and more progress in removing undocumented immigrants. For Kansas City families like the Ortizes, that means more empty rooms and more unanswered questions. Arrests are just the beginning. ICE detentions are ramping up as federal authorities secure more beds on both sides of the state line. What happens next can mean months behind bars, not just for undocumented immigrants with criminal records, but increasingly those without a criminal history at all. Inside a Missouri detention center.
It's my first time being in a facility like this. I was a little scared, I'm not gonna lie.
Sergio, an undocumented immigrant living in Missouri, is in a situation he hoped would never become a reality.
I don't have any family in Mexico. All my family is here.
He illegally entered the U.S. as a child, applied to DACA, which hangs in the lurch, and is married to a U.S. citizen.
She has a medical condition, so that automatically makes me the sole provider in our relationship, in our marriage.
Now he's on the verge of being removed from the U.S. Over a 10-year span, Sergio faced 3 traffic violations. The third stop on July 26 landed him in ICE custody, behind bars without bond.
They had me there for over 2 hours in handcuffs.
Just on the side of the road?
Yeah, on the side of the road for 2 hours in handcuffs.
Sergio's case is a prime example of the Trump administration's approach to ICE detentions.
Illegal aliens who stay in America face punishments, including significant jail time.
They used to target security threats and flight risks. Now, the scope of who fights from behind bars has widened.
They're getting pulled over for, a unpaid tag, and all of a sudden they are landing in immigration detention.
Maya King is a Kansas City immigration attorney. Her firm represents Sergio and other non-citizens fighting against removal behind bars.
There's an uncertainty as to how long do I need to be in detention, and when do I get to see a judge, when do I get to see my family, what do I do with my car that's still parked in the parking lot.
Detentions in Missouri soared more than 16 times from January to October of 2025 and jumped roughly 67% in Kansas compared to the same time span in 2024. Adding fuel to the surge, KCTV5 obtained photos of an internal ICE memo issued in July of 2025. It lists new guidance to detain undocumented immigrants who illegally entered the U.S. The policy also denies bond hearings, regardless of criminal background or time spent here. Sergio's attorney believes if ICE arrested him just 3 weeks earlier, right before ICE issued this guidance, his fight against removal would be very different.
I would still be able to work and have the ability to pay for everything.
Both King and local immigration attorney Rekha Sharma Crawford say the policy raises due process concerns. They say this sentence, quote, "The Department of Homeland Security coordinated with the Department of Justice on detention and release," is an issue.
In any other area of law, in any other court, that is called ex parte communication. It's unethical, it's unlawful, it's a violation of due process.
A federal judge in California ruled the policy illegal, but the ruling did not force the government to stop enforcing it nationwide. In a statement to KCTV5, Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in part, quote, "All detainees are provided ample opportunity to communicate with their attorneys and family members. Every single detainee receives due process. Get a grip." KCTV5 analyzed ICE detainees' criminal backgrounds from the start of 2025 to October. 44% of ICE detainees in Kansas had at least one criminal conviction, 35% in Missouri. In both states, traffic offenses and DUIs were the most common charges. But 16% in Kansas and 26% in Missouri had no criminal background, rates that so far more than doubled compared to a year prior. The government is offering some ICE detainees a choice: fight removal behind bars or voluntarily leave the country.
He was really aggressive in that sense. He wanted me to sign the voluntary departure.
Sergio refused. But as detention surged, so does the scramble for bed space. It's an issue the Trump administration is tackling with its One Big Beautiful Bill to meet its mandate for mass deportations. Locally, that reportedly includes a potential detention center for thousands of ICE detainees in Kansas City. A contract with CoreCivic's Leavenworth prison for more than 1,000 beds, which hangs in legal limbo. And the so-called Cornhusker Clink, a 280-bed detention facility roughly 20 minutes from the Kansas border. At the time of this reporting, ICE contracts with 7 detention centers spanning both sides of the state line for beds. We are at the Chase County Detention Facility in Kansas. It is one of 3 facilities that ICE is contracting bed space from in the state. The sheriff, Jacob Welsh, has agreed to speak with us and share legally what he can about how this process works.
We're probably seeing about 40 detainees a week in court.
An average of 109 ICE detainees a day sit inside Chase County Detention Center, according to Track Immigration.
We used to do immigration court 2 to 3 times a week. We're currently doing it 4 days a week, so that part of it has increased just a little bit.
Welsh says as of August, he still sees some ICE detainees are eligible and post bond.
As it pertains to immigration, they may be deported. As it pertains to a local case, they may get sent to prison. And we know that that's going to be hard on them, and it's going to be an adjustment for them and their families. But if we're treating people with the care and kindness as we can, all of them, no matter their status.
As for Sergio, he fought against his removal for 2 months in detention.
I feel really confident that at the end of this, the outcome's going to be what I expected to be. And that's me walking out of here and being able to see my family again and hold my wife again.
He was right to feel confident and is now approved to receive his green card. But for the thousands of non-citizens in Missouri and Kansas detention centers, it's a waiting game.
Bringing in the worst of the worst and getting them off of our streets.
As supporters say detention is a matter of safety, and critics say
the goal is to break the spirit, because people with a broken spirit will give up.
Reshaping immigration detentions with consequences that will unfold for years to come. Sergio won his case in immigration court, a place where thousands of cases are decided. Cameras aren't allowed inside, so we spent several days observing court proceedings and speaking with people who try these cases every day. We learned it's a legal system in flux. This is the third story in our investigation into how immigration enforcement in Kansas City has changed under the Trump administration.
Today I signed an executive order to launch the first ever self-deportation program for illegal aliens.
We've shown you how ICE arrests have expanded beyond violent criminals and how ICE detentions have surged beyond flight risks or dangers to society. Kansas City's immigration court sits across from Crown Center in this nondescript office building. It screams administrative, and that's because it is. Inside, 3 permanent immigration judges chip away at a 51,000 case backlog. Roughly 1 in 3 involve children. A mother seeking citizenship for her middle school-aged son spoke to us off camera.
Habemos muchos padres que tenemos miedos.
And the cases KC's immigration court is hearing look different than they did a year ago. In fiscal year 2024, about 60% of KC's cases involved non-citizens charged with illegally crossing the border. By fiscal year 2025, that flipped. Now, 63% involve other immigration charges, like being in the country without parole, no valid visa, or failing to maintain legal status. So what changed? And what does it mean for the thousands of people waiting for their day in Kansas City's court?
The immigration courts are housed under the executive branch of the United States, so that means the president controls the immigration courts.
The Trump administration has rolled back programs that allowed people to be in the U.S. legally. As of 2024, more than 2,000 non-citizens on each side of the state line had temporary protected status, a benefit for non-citizens whose home countries are too dangerous to go back to.
Well, TPS is a program that was always meant to be temporary.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem worked to end TPS designations for several countries and other humanitarian programs. The administration saying it's a matter of, quote, ending exploitation of our immigration system. KC immigration attorney Rekha Sharma Crawford argues the policy changes are ironic.
By stripping people of their status and forcing them into unlawful status, now it becomes a talking point to say, see, we have all these people who are undocumented. Well, you forced them in that direction.
More non-citizens are fighting their cases from behind bars. 64% of non-citizens facing KC's immigration court do not have a lawyer.
And a lot of people without the resources and the determination, even if they have a viable case, they're going to give up before their case is heard.
Meanwhile, DHS attorneys are more aggressive in pursuing charges. Under previous administrations, DHS attorneys had discretion not to prioritize deportation for people with no criminal history.
But under the Trump administration, all those prosecutorial discretion memos have been rescinded.
DHS did not respond to our request for comment on prosecutorial discretion. The Office for Immigration Review also denied our request to interview any of the 3 immigration judges here in Kansas City. So we turned to a former immigration judge who recently left the bench and can speak freely about what she experienced.
I always had a dream to be a judge.
Attorney Christy Nelson served as an immigration judge in Chicago from November of 2023 to April of 2025 when she resigned. In the transition from Presidents Biden to Trump, she says prosecutorial discretion stopped.
Government attorneys specifically said they're no longer allowed to do that. So that was, a very dramatic change.
She also said the tone towards judges shifted under the Trump administration.
These memos felt very threatening. Like, if you take any action that is deemed to not be supportive of the president's goals, you will be fired.
The National Association of Immigration Judges says 128 judges have been fired, forced out, or transferred by September of 2025. After the firings, the government posted judge openings for 71 locations, including Kansas City, and deployed hundreds of military lawyers as temporary immigration judges. One military lawyer started in Kansas City's court in October of 2025. They could work cases for up to 6 months, then there's an evaluation for potential extension. A controversial move with critics saying it guts due process and supporters saying it'll help reduce national backlog. As for KC's immigration court,
I think we are lucky enough that there are some judges here that are still adhering to some protocols and due process concerns and take their oath very, very seriously.
Seemingly an effort to keep court in order.
But that's not to say that we haven't been impacted by what's going on the national level.
Throughout our reporting, we noticed a trend. Nearly every source we spoke with, from law enforcement to immigration advocates, said the legal pathways need to be streamlined. Instead, we found they are narrowing.
In the armed forces of the United States.
But as Carla Melgar raises her right hand,
it was a journey, definitely a journey for over 27 years.
To become an American citizen. 5 miles away, another woman fights in Kansas City's immigration court to stay.
Soy de Nicaragua.
She's too afraid to show her face or share her name.
Sinceramente, ahorita mismo está difícil.
Right now, it's hard because the lawyers are taking advantage, and there are others that, right from the start, you have to give them $3,000.
2 women, 2 very different paths, both caught in a system that everyone we spoke with says is broken. President Trump's orders in his second term haven't just targeted enforcement. They've also restricted legal pathways.
The Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration.
Sir, this is an executive order realigning the United States refugee admission program.
He suspended the refugee admissions program his first day back in office, calling new refugees, quote, detrimental to the U.S., and cut admissions from 125,000 to a record low 7,500 whenever he chooses to resume the program. That's according to the Migration Policy Institute, which tracks the program's admissions since its inception in 1980. After a National Guard member was killed in a D.C. shooting.
That animal should not have been allowed to come into a country.
The suspect, an Afghan national admitted as a refugee, and later granted asylum, prompted the administration to review all refugee cases approved under President Joe Biden. The policy change hit Kansas City resettlement organizations hard. The Jewish Vocational Service has helped resettle more than 1,600 refugees in Kansas City since January of 2021. Almost half are children. The administration also paused decisions on all pending asylum applications, with the director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services saying they won't resume, quote, until we can ensure that every alien is vetted and screened to the maximum degree possible. About a year into the president's second term, the State Department announced the suspension of visa processing for citizens of 75 countries it deems would likely need public assistance living in the U.S. The most common legal pathway, making up more than 60% of legal immigration, is through family-based visas.
Congratulations.
Ramsha Hasib, born in Pakistan, is a single mom. Her son has special needs and is a U.S. citizen.
I just wanted to be here for him forever. That's the reason it is really special for me to be a part of the United States.
From visa to green card to naturalization, it took her nearly 7 years. If she tried applying for a visa today, the State Department would not process it. Pakistan is one of the 75 now suspended countries. But for those who aren't immediate family members, or for those pursuing the second most common legal path, employment visas, KC immigration attorney Andrea Martinez says it can take decades.
That a lot of people that are here in this country undocumented are here undocumented because there was no line to stand in, or the line was 100 years long and they would be dead by the time they got a visa.
In 1990, Congress set permanent visa quotas at 675,000 a year. Those quotas have not changed since.
The demand for workers has grown so much, and yet the visa numbers available are not there.
And there's now a higher bar to secure a visa.
The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas.
President Trump believes he can fix the system through executive action.
As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president.
But executive actions, whether they expand or restrict immigration, may not stick. The Trump administration has faced more than 100 lawsuits over much of its immigration policy, according to law and policy journal Just Security. It takes congressional action to make lasting change.
It's an excellent example of a truly successful bipartisan effort.
In 1986, President Ronald Reagan signed a law that gave nearly 3 million people legal status, increased border funding, and made hiring unauthorized workers illegal. It's been 40 years. Congress has not passed comprehensive immigration reform since. Instead, Congress approved $165 billion of taxpayer dollars into the U.S. immigration system for efforts like completing the border wall, hiring thousands more ICE and Customs and Border Patrol personnel, and more. A system everyone we spoke with, regardless of their role in it, says doesn't work.
How much hope do you hold out for the U.S. immigration system?
Sorry, I'm laughing at the word system. Like, what is the system?
Everybody agrees that they should wipe it clean and start over.
There's a lot of different, I guess, arms and tentacles, if you will.
I would just love to see more of a streamlined process to that, as long as we're doing our due diligence on background checks.
So what happens now? Melgar and Hasib celebrate their new citizenship. Asylum seekers wait for a hearing that may take even longer to arrive. Until Congress acts, immigration policy will change at the whim of each administration. People in our neighborhoods will remain caught in the middle.
Congratulations. Good luck.
For now, this is immigration beyond the border. This is what immigration policy looks like beyond the border, where policy meets people. Some see it as necessary security measures. Others see it as families being torn apart. As immigration enforcement ramps up in Kansas City, it's not a question of if more changes are on their way. It's about how these changes will shape our community. I'm KCTV5 anchor Lauren Magarino. Thank you for watching.